So we need about 6 cord peeled and thinly sliced Granny Smith apples, half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of brown sugar. We're gonna need about a teaspoon of cinnamon. Just try to get everything sort of mixed around so you're covering everybody. A dash of nutmeg, don't add too much of this. And then we are gonna go ahead and give this a stir, blend this around here. Try to kind of just coat everything as best as you can, but it's gonna melt when it's in the pie, so it does not matter if everything is completely mixed. Now you're gonna wanna do a nice squeeze of lemon juice, not too much, but just enough to give it a little tang and to help keep those apples from kind of breaking down. Now what we're gonna do is stir this up again, and then we're gonna wanna set this aside for a moment. And now we have a 9-inch ungreased baking pan with a pre-made pie crust. Comes with 2 in a pack. So you're gonna wanna take this, make sure that this is right up to the sides of this pie pan here. And we're going to go ahead and add our apple filling. Carefully add the apple filling. Okay, and just make sure you kind of spread it around evenly, and don't mind if it's not perfect, but you'd want the top to be somewhat flat here. Okay, now, next step is you're gonna wanna take the other piece of the pie crust that came in the pack, and you want these to be room temperature, because if you take these out too cold, you're gonna rip the crust. I mean, and then you also don't want them to get too hot, so room temperature is perfect. And if you get a little tear, don't worry, just pinch it back together with your fingers. Now set this on top of the pie like this, and make sure you press it down, so you just make sure everything is sealed up nice and tight. Now what you want to do is kind of just go around the edges and pinch the top layer of the crust over the bottom layer that is sticking up from the bottom, and just work your way around the outside and just try to make sure that everything is sealed up fairly well. Go ahead and give it a spin. And you really don't want to overlap the edge of the pie pan. You kind of want to just keep everything sort of vertical, like elevated, like you can see what I'm doing. That keep everything from burning. So, got this. And then what I like to do is make sure I don't have any holes, and I like to go around here and kind of just take your finger like this, and sort of just make a nice little pattern here all around the edges of the pie. It doesn't have to be perfect, just like this. And like I said, if you get a little tear, just push it together and pinch it back together, patch it up. No problem. And that looks pretty good. Now, the last step here that we're gonna do is just a real light coat of some egg wash. And this helps just let the crust brown. And you don't wanna soak it or get anything too crazy here. Just kind of graze over the top, graze over the sides a little bit, but don't mess up, the edges that you just made. Just kind of a nice light coat like that. And that is more than enough. And this is gonna just give us a nice brown, crispy looking crust. Now, last step here, what we must do is make some holes in the top. Now, I just like to do, usually maybe 4 of these little slices, just so we can let the air out and will, prevent any sort of exploding or bubbling inside of the pie. So make sure you got some slits. I mean, you can make a slit in a design pattern. You can really just pretty much do anything you want, but this is gonna be more than good enough. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we're gonna put this in a 425-degree oven for about 40 to 45 minutes. Just make sure to keep checking it. But one last step, for the first half of the cooking time, I just took some aluminum foil, made these little strips. We need to go around the edges and cover the edges of the crust, because if we don't cover these edges, they're gonna burn. So the edges of the pie will be blackened on the outside while the pie isn't even cooked yet. So you're gonna keep these on for about half their cook time, and then halfway through, go ahead, open the oven up and take these off and let it cook open for the second half of the cook time. So there you go, as simple as that, and let's see how this turns out. Yum, guys. This is a pie that I just baked earlier that's the exact same recipe as the pie that I just showed you. I just wanted one that was already cooled down just so I can show you the end result. I'm gonna cut myself a nice big piece here. And it's important to let this cool down just to let all the ingredients set up so that you don't have everything spilling out when you try to cut yourself a piece. Okay, sometimes you cut maneuvering, there you go. And then this is best served with some sort of ice cream, and vanilla ice cream just sounds like it would go perfect with this pie. So there's a nice scoop of vanilla. And now the only thing left to do is to give this a try. It tastes just like cinnamon, a nice flaky crust. And the apples are nice and tart. This is great, this is easy, this is quick. This is a perfect apple pie recipe.